Ready? Do we have a quorum?
Ready when you are. We do have a quorum.
Very much. I try to get everything loaded here. We'll begin the planning meeting of Akron City Council. At this point, we'll ask for a motion to approve the minutes of the previously held meeting.
Second.
All those in favor, all those signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against? The ayes have it. Very good. We do have one item that's up for a public hearing, and the procedures will be the planning department will provide a brief description, and this is in reference to, I'll read in the public hearing, a resolution adopting the 2023 Capital Investment and Community Development Program, legally referred to as the capital investment budget. So what we'll do is we'll hear a report from the planning department, Helen Tomick, I believe. We'll hear a report from her. Then what we'll do is we will conduct a public hearing, and we will ask those that wish to testify before the committee to please be sworn in. A representative from our law department will swear those individuals in. After that, we'll provide 3 minutes for comment from everyone. And then after that, what we'll do is we'll close the public hearing, and we'll ask for questions or comments from council members and or committee members and or council members. We will then repeat that process this evening at 7 o'clock. Okay, so you're invited certainly back at 7 o'clock if you'd like to make comments again. So you're welcome to do that too. We will be conducting at 4 o'clock today, and I believe 4 o'clock next week. The committee and council will be doing conducting a budget review. Okay, so that will be occurring as well. So with that, we will welcome a description here from Helen Tomick from the Planning Department.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and committee members. Helen Tomick with the Long Range Planning Department. Every year, the City Administration prepares a capital investment and community development program for City Council consideration. The budget specifies the types, locations, costs, and general descriptions of capital investments planned for implementation throughout the year. The capital investment and community development program includes the following: enhancing and maintaining existing public infrastructure, such as improvements to streets and sidewalks, improvements to our parks, improvements to community centers, finalizing the design of the pools at Reservoir and Perkins and the renovation to the bathhouses, and an ongoing partnership with Boom to address place space inequity. The capital budget also includes purchases of vehicles for police service and public services division, purchase of an engine truck, debt service previously financed by capital projects, and beginning work on East Exchange Complete Street project, along with ongoing water and sewer upgrades. The objectives of the capital budget are to construct or rehabilitate facilities vital to the residents of Akron, to encourage private investment, thereby increasing the city's tax base and annual revenues, leveraging federal, state, and private funds whenever possible to fund capital projects, and to provide capital improvements to support the long-term growth of the city's land use and development guide plan. The 2023 capital investment and community development represents a total of approximately $359 million. Funding sources include $105 million from local funds, $5.7 million from regional sources, $158.5 million from the state of Ohio, $80.4 million from the federal government, and approximately $10 million from private sources. OID staff and city staff will be conducting a more detailed review of the proposed this afternoon at 4 o'clock. Budget review will focus on transportation, parks and services, public facilities, housing and community services, economic development, and miscellaneous. And then on the following Monday, on November 7th, additional review will also be held at 4 o'clock to include police, fire, along with water, sewer, capital needs. Thank you.
Thank you, Helen Tomick, for that report. Certainly appreciate it. We're going to open up the public hearing portion, We're going to ask everyone to please step forward. Oh, and first, though, be sworn in from a representative of our law department. And whenever you do step forward and provide testimony, if you could please provide for us your name and address, we would certainly appreciate it. Thank you very much. Thanks for coming down today.
Okay. Those wishing to speak, please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the statements you're going to give are the truth? If so, please respond by saying I do. Thank you.
I do.
All right, thank you. We'll now open up the public hearing portion and ask if there's anyone here wishing to speak in terms of the in favor and or opposed to the 2023 Capital Investment and Community Development Program. Anyone here wishing to speak?
Good afternoon, Chair and councilors and city staff. My name is Fran Wilson. I'm a community organizer. This capital budget proposes some $360 million of investment into infrastructure, community and service, programming, and neighborhood aid. 50% of this year's capital budget is proposed to go towards water and sewer mandated. Much of that is mandated by federal decree. Today's 4 p.m. presentation will be about economic development, housing, parks, public facilities, and transportation. Next Monday at 4 p.m., budget planners will present police, fire, water, and sewer items as well. Anyone wishing to give public comment during this time can email publiccomment@akronohio.gov and participate in the 1 and 7 p.m. public hearings. Overall, my review of this capital budget program leads me to ask 3 questions. Number 1, the renters of Akron are facing a housing crisis. Eviction rates are staggering. Out-of-state landlords are unchecked, and poor housing conditions are leading to death and hospitalizations. New development projects supported by tax abatements are primarily focused on high income and luxury and not low income housing. The proposed 2023 capital budget program budgets about 3%, about $11 million for housing and community services, and it is on the budget documents the lowest expenditure category. This budget shows the city's priorities for 2023. So my question is, what is the priority for safe housing in this budget? What does this translate to? Number 2, Akron's poverty, housing, and health issues led to Akron receiving once-in-a-generation federal funding from CARES and ARPA dollars. The city used a significant amount of CARES and other cash infusions to rebalance and to manage debt. My question is, how much debt does the city of Akron have to date, and how much debt is healthy and expected for a city of our size? Number 3, 82%, which is $130 million of state funding for the 2023 capital budget program, appears to be debt, specifically geared towards water and sewer programming. My question is, what does taking on this debt mean for the grand scheme of our city's public financing, particularly after rebalancing of our budget? I want to end by pointing out that there are not many civilians in these pews and on lines on a rather large capital budget program. It's the second year that I've specifically asked city budget staff and city councilors to consider adding a public town hall or an extra hearing to the schedule. It is my hope that each one of our councilors will take a quick minute to email blast their constituents or post on social media about the budget items that they think are important, because the public deserves to understand about this, all the aspects of this process, and to be a part of it and not just finance it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to speak?
Greetings, everyone.
Ms. McCall, if you don't mind, if you could please be sworn in from a representative from our law department. Thank you.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the statements you're about to give are the truth? If so, please respond by saying I do.
I do.
Thank you.
I am here to speak on behalf of my review of the budget. As a community advocate and just someone who just really echoes the voices of the community, it really is disheartening to see that out of the 7 different projects or programs that is invested in, housing and community service is the least invested at 11 million, when 180 million is going towards water and sewer. It is very interesting to me how there's actively water and sewer issues and plumbing issues active in Hillwood Apartments, and in this 180 million is not going towards those residents that are actively living in these inhumane housing. I've been advocating on behalf of housing for the last year, and just to look at the numbers is just very disheartening. And then also something that was brought to my attention within this budget is the fire division's debt service. For the fire capital is $2 million, but they're $1 million in debt. It just doesn't make sense if they want to construct some fire stations, 2 to be exact, 2 and 4. And they also want to construct another fire station, which will be $11 million. Yet, the investment in housing is still not at the needs of the constituents. So I'm just trying to figure out what's going on. We've been constantly asking for help in housing, and last committee meeting, someone said that they'll take care of the city workers and the city servants, and this is what exactly they're doing by keeping these investments so high within the police and the fire budget. I also seen that the investment within parks, the miscellaneous programs of 50 million. We need more into housing. I can't stress this even more. It's just very disheartening, again, that housing is not important. So much money is going into these said projects, like the Lock 3 Vision Plan for $5 million, or the Summit Lake Vision Plan for $7 million, which just so happen to have the private investment and the ARPA dollars the same amount of $3.5 million. It just doesn't make sense. And then for the Summit Lake Vision Plan, it's the Summit Lake Vision Plan focusing on the North Shore activity area. And I'm almost for certain that it's just the new gentrification plan. It seems as though the city is trying to push out a lot of people, and we need to bring the issues of the people to the forefront. Again, we need more investment into housing and community efforts, community services. We're investing in programs like Habitat for Humanity, and that's only $400,000. Also, within the demolition, you're only putting $100K, but you're spending $6 million to demolish a power plant. Like, the numbers just don't make sense. So if you're gonna actively invest in housing, really look at these numbers, because the numbers really don't make sense. You're investing more in the parks than you are in the communities. Like, alone just for the acquisition, reallocation, and the clearance is only $350,000. We need millions. Like, all in its entirety, we need millions to even rehab certain houses. And you're partnering with local nonprofits for these, but it's the citizens who truly need assistance. So I just wanted you to all to just understand, just from someone who has been advocating on behalf of housing for all, both public and private. We need more investment into the community and housing for all, not just luxury. We need it for the working people, those who are actively on vouchers, or just even the senior citizens. Housing for all is a need. It is a housing crisis, and it is truly a state of emergency. We must invest into the community, or the community won't take care of itself. We continue to invest in more public servants, but we're not taking care of the people. The people need to be taken care of, and that does not mean being over-policed. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Is there anyone else here wishing to speak in reference to the capital budget? Please step forward and be sworn in from a representative of our law department, or thank you.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the statements you're going to give are the truth? If so, please respond by saying I do.
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Emika Mentor. I also have been an advocate for Akron for about a year now. I also am the president of the Erickson Tenant Union here in Akron. The reason why I come to talk about that housing budget is because that is not enough. I live there in Erickson. I have missed work the last 5 days due to the plumbing and the water coming up through the toilets, coming up through our laundry rooms, flooding our utility rooms with sewage for the last 5 days. So for y'all to be putting more money into the roads, the pipelines, like, this is ridiculous. We need that in housing. I just got out the hospital, being sick due to my living arrangements. I am not the only tenant. We have pregnant mothers living there. I have been trying to get y'all to put more money into housing for like 8 months, coming on here for 8 months straight, and nothing has been done. I'm begging y'all today, change that, because we need that money for housing. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Is there anyone else here wishing to speak in reference to the capital budget for 2023? Anyone?
Mr. Chair, we had one person that signed up online.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Viviano? No one else in chambers? Okay, very good, thank you. Thank you all for attending today. Yes, there's someone here, I believe, online. Ms. Viviano?
Yes, Megan Lugo is here.
Thank you, welcome. Megan Lugo?
Can I go? Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you for this opportunity. First, on a specific budget line item, I was a bit confused and hoping there could be some clarity about why the city would be spending two budget line items, a total of $5 million for streets in a new privately funded development, namely the Residences at Good Park. My understanding is that such infrastructure in developments are paid for by developers, so the city doesn't foot the initial bill for infrastructure. And is this common, and if so, how is this cost effective for the city, given that all of these homes would be subject to the tax abatement, and therefore probably wouldn't pay off that $5 million anytime soon? Second, there's no budget item for tree planting beyond those trees removed by AWR projects, given the city's dwindling tree canopy and the long-term cost that poses for us, especially in a time of climate change. It would seem prudent that we should be investing more in that. And then finally, I was curious what metrics could be provided to the public that we could use to gauge whether the budget is indeed equitable for all Akronites. It was mentioned that equity was a goal, but we don't have any data, at least initially, about how that's actually been achieved in a demonstrable, again, data-backed way. For example, do we have a breakdown of how many dollars are dedicated to each ward? And how does that map onto past disinvestment in those communities? And related, what metrics are used also to gauge whether this budget is promoting an environmentally sustainable Akron? I see that, for example, a few budget items are for demolition of buildings, for example, but what the most sustainable building is one that already exists. So how is our budget reflecting a value for sustainability when it doesn't seem like it does? So I know that Councilwoman Holland and others just sponsored a resolution regarding being a gateway community. How does our budget reflect being a gateway community to the national park? Because it's a little hard to see that right now. So thank you for your time, I appreciate it.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else online wishing to speak before the committee and council? Thank you. We'll certainly invite everyone back this evening at 7 o'clock. We'll basically have a public hearing at that time as well. At 4 o'clock, we will we'll begin the review process of the capital budget overall, and all is welcome to, and a lot of these questions will be answered. However, we go in detail in terms of each line item at 4 o'clock today, as well as 4 o'clock the following week. So with that, any questions from any committee members? Any council members? Okay, Mr. Malik, your hand's up.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And thank you to the folks who came down to speak for the public hearing in person and online. I know we'll have plenty of time to get into the substance of the, the substance of the budget proposal this afternoon, but I did just want to remark on a point that came up a couple times and that we've discussed in the past, you know, particularly promoting civic engagement in this budget process. You know, this is very notable. We're doing the capital budget process here at the very end of October, when ordinarily we would wait until early 2023. And so I think that gives us an opportunity to take more citizen perspective, both increasing awareness and education of what's in this proposal and then getting feedback. And I think this is really an opportunity. You know, this budget is the priorities of the city, for better and for worse. And I think we should try as much as possible to get people engaged in around what this priority is. And we'll like some of what they say, we won't like some of what they say, but we'll all be better off for it, and we'll be a stronger community for it. And so I hope we can build that. That's not just having a public hearing, that's actually building some processes and putting some time and effort into actually getting the word out and actually building, you know, mechanisms like a town hall through which people can provide input. So I really would urge us as a council to do that for this budget cycle. We have some time that we've given ourselves, and also for the operating budget process as well.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else on? Nancy Holland?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I share the view that we are better when we include citizens and citizen ideas in our process and when adequate time to engage our citizenry. We also very much do reflect our government by how we propose to spend money. This is very much true. I have, you know, many things to say about the detail, and I know that we'll have opportunity to do that, but I'd particularly like to thank today's guests for bringing up some of the high points. We do have a housing need. It is multidimensional, and it is very, very significant. I appreciate those who brought this concept forward and who are asking for amplification and greater consideration of that need. I'm also interested in seeing a greater reflection of a concern for sustainability. Everything from tree planting efforts to how we are planning our infill housing, how we are looking at the future in providing housing that is needed as opposed to aspirational housing. Also interested in conversations around how we will reflect our recent commitment to being a way community. One small way is the sidewalk budgeting for Portage Extension. I was disappointed to see that we have not had movement or increase in that budget item. I hope we'll get a chance to talk more about that. We spent a lot of time, a lot of citizen time here on the Merriman Valley planning process. And I know I'm not alone when I said this is an important forward motion. We have indeed, as a city, had our hands very full. But this is all part of being a modern city, that we address that which we are dealing with now, and we are constantly moving toward the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Russ Neal?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to thank the residents that spoke in the chamber and online because they covered all of my questions. And so I'm asking that get a list showing the questions that were asked, who was assigned to answer those questions, and so we keep a timeline on those. I think it's important as that we establish that we all understand when it comes to equitable investment. We've been talking about this for a while, and yet there's no metric that we can all point to say this is what we're using. Making this investment is critical that we have an understanding, not just with our capital, but as well as with our ARPA dollars, being equitably invested. And then I like the question, because it's one of mine and one that I've already had conversations with our finance director on, is about our city's financial position. And how much debt can we take? There's a lot of things that we're financing. We just passed a bond issue that goes out so many years. So I not rehash the questions that were asked. I think they were very poignant questions. If we can have those questions reported out to us, who asked them, who was assigned to answer them, and of course when those answers come in, if we can have those, so that we as a council can be responsible to our constituents who ask the questions and have a better understanding of the impact and how to address those questions based on the answers that are provided to them through this process. Thank you.
Thank you. Further questions or comments? Very good. Hearing none. We'll now move on to the balance of the agenda. I would like to mention, though, to some of our members in particular, I know some ward council members, they invite the planning department out to this, and they make a presentation during their ward meetings. I know whenever I was a ward council person, I used to do the same, and great opportunity to engage with your community in terms of the capital budget as well as the operating budget. Thank you all for your time. Look forward to seeing everyone at 4 o'clock and at 7 o'clock this evening. Thank you. I'm going to recommend that we take time on 2 through and including 20. 21, this is amending and or supplementing Title 11, Business Regulations, Chapter 111, Regulations governing specific businesses, enact Article 37 as short-term rentals. Create procedures, registration, regulations, fees, and enforcement of short-term rentals. Hello. We have had a considerable amount of discussion in reference to this, and would like to know if there's any questions or comments. I think I mentioned last week that we were going to be voting on this. I was going to asking the committee. Any questions or comments from any council members at this time? I'm not hearing none. If there is a favorable recommendation, is there a second? I'll second it. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Against? I believe the ayes have it.
Could I do a roll call on that? Thank
Yes,
you.
please.
Thank you.
Let's make sure we get everybody accounted for.
Fusco?
Aye.
Kamer is absent. Connor? Baylor?
Aye.
And Mosley? The motion passes 4-0.
Very good. With that, I believe short of any other concerns or questions, we'll go on to the new list of legislation at this time. Ms. Viviano, could you please read in the first item, which is number 4 on your new list?
Item number 4 is an ordinance authorizing the execution of development agreement with Pure Charge Holdings No. 1 LTD or its designee, providing for the acquisition, sale, and redevelopment of property at 250 North Howard Street, finding such property is not needed for any public use, related findings, and declaring an emergency.
Thank you.
Yes.
Is someone here to talk about this?
I can do that.
Thank you.
This is, I think most people are familiar with the building at 250 North Howard. It's just north of the Lock 15 and Lost Development. It's an eyesore. It's you know, been so for a bit of time. We've been working for a few years trying to get development to get property. We are there. It's going to be a combination of a retail on the bottom, residential, and then also there's going to be a number of electric vehicle charging stations located at that facility. The developer is paying $20,000 for the building.
Very good, thank you. Is there an estimated investment?
I
Approximate?
don't know. Do we have a total investment? I'm putting him on the spot because I can't.
It's have specifically for this building.
Thank you. Is there
Any questions?
yes, please, thank you. Questions from any committee members? Mosley?
Sean, is this Tony's?
Yep.
Thank you.
He's one of the, it's a entity that he's a partner in, yes. Yeah.
Further questions? Hearing none, I'd like to hear a motion to refer this item.
Motion to refer.
Is there a second? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Against? Aye. The ayes have it. Item number 5, Ms. Biviano.
Item number 5 is an ordinance authorizing the execution of a development agreement with Middlebury Housing LLC or its designee, providing the acquisition, sale, and development of property at 23 Kent Street, finding such property is not needed for any public use, and related findings, and declaring an emergency.
Thank you.
Hi, David Messner, Development Manager. Adjacent to the old Army surplus, the mattress store there, it has been kind of a dumping time. We paid it off. It's been cleaned up several times over the years. Middlebury Housing is a component of the Wells CDC. They'd like to take this, redevelop it into a parking lot for some of their multi-unit tenants just to the east of it.
Thank you. Questions or comments? Is time on this okay?
That would be okay. Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Short of any questions or comments, I'd like to ask that we refer this item.
Motion to refer.
Is there a second? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against? The ayes have it. Thank you. Please let us know if you have any questions after reviewing the agreement. The next item, Ms. Biviano.
Item number 6 is a resolution approving and confirming the appointment by Mayor Horrigan of Floyd Easley and Kathy Stevens, and approving and confirming the reappointment of Scott Rowland, Greg Burke, and Renee Need to the vacant Commercial or Industrial Building Appeals Board, and declaring an emergency.
Very good. Thank you.
Council, we actually, Department of Neighborhood Assistance, who the mayor's office has requested the...
Mr. Lash, I'm sorry to interrupt. I don't think your is on. Can you?
Is it on now?
Thank you.
Chair, Committee, and Council, the Department of Neighborhood Assistance has requested the confirmation through the mayor's office of these individuals, Mr. Floyd Easley, Ms. Kathy Stevens, and the reappointment of Scott Rowland, Greg Burke, Renee Need to the vacant Commercial and Industrial Building Appeals Board, and they are all present this afternoon, hoping for a confirmation.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Questions or members and or council members? I understand time is of the essence on this.
If we could have it passed this evening, that'd be great.
Yeah, I would, I know that, I just want to thank those that are here that are on this, on the VBR. Thank you so much for your service. In a time whenever public service is condemned by some, you're stepping up to do this, and we certainly appreciate that. Thank you for your service to the city. And the VBR is an important piece that we put together a couple years ago, and it's quite successful, no part due to a lot of the effort that you all have put into this. Thank you for that. Questions or comments? I'd like to entertain a motion for suspension of the rules with a favorable report. Is there a second? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against? Aye. The ayes have it. Very good. Item number 7.
Item number 7 is an ordinance amending and enacting Title 15, Chapter 154, vacant commercial or industrial, Section 154.04, vacant commercial or industrial building appeals board, to update the language contained therein and declaring an emergency.
Thank you.
I guess I'll speak on this.
Okay.
Last week, Mr. Lash and Dwayne Greger brought forward the piece that you just put on suspension of the rules. In researching that, we discovered that in 2018, when we passed the Vacant Commercial Industrial Appeals Board or ordinance, council and the administration required that member of the board be a member of the Akron Area Board of Realtors. In reading this piece, we discovered that that group no longer exists. It has since merged into the Akron Cleveland Association of Realtors. So this piece is simply updating the language.
Yes, they have. Is there a compelling reason to pass this tonight? Can we just place it on the consent agenda? Is that okay?
We prefer you pass it tonight just to make sure that the appointments tonight are valid.
Okie dokie. Thank you. Questions or comments from anyone? It's pretty cut and dried, easy. I'd like to entertain a motion that we suspend the rules with a favorable report. Is there a second? I'll second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against? The ayes have it. Thank you all. At this point, the planning committee is adjourned till 4 o'clock. Ms. Viviano.
Our next committee of the day will be the Rules Committee. Those committee members are Freeman, Fusco, Amobian, Connor, and Malik. That meeting will begin at 2 o'clock, and again, that's the Rules Committee at 2. Thank you.